All right. So apparently it is getting ready to happen. I saw a report that came out that says Kamala Harris is looking for a way to raise funds so that they can do a recount, which I didn't even know costs money. Something's a little crazy about that, but they want to do a recount for certain contested races, and they are looking into other irregularities. So, if anybody's paying attention, this has to do with Elon Musk's Starlink technology being used to count votes. Why? Why would anybody need his technology to count votes? And then you have situations where bomb threats were called in to 60 Democrat locations, forcing those locations to shut down. I'm going to link a video that shows all of these things that we've talked about. You have all of these states where these Democrats were winning race after race after race, like in North Carolina, but then they turned around and voted for Trump. So all of the crazy, kooky, illegal bullshit is getting ready to hit the fan. Now, according to one of the videos I'm going to link below, she is raising money. I personally would never give a dime to such an effort because she literally raised $1 billion. So if you're raising $1 billion, you should have something in the war chest to be able to investigate criminal activity like cheating, especially when you're dealing with a known criminal like Trump. It shouldn't be that difficult to have something set aside if you have $1 billion to investigate potentially criminal activity. But if you all have $50, I think they're asking for $250. If you all have the money to contribute to it, great. But it is time that we have people stand up for the American people, the voters in this country. And I think that part of the reason they're having such a hard time is they have been saying for years that the elections are secure when for a very long time the elections have not been secure. And so the idea of them now saying, every single election is sacred except for this last one, now they have to kind of admit that they have finagled with people's rights in those behind those curtains in these situations where we wanted Bernie and they did everything they could to destroy it, or we wanted, the opportunity to have Al Gore. Remember Al Gore be the president of the United States, and they didn't stand for him. And then the same thing happened with Kerry. They had the Diebold machines, and they didn't stand for him. So I'm talking about a very long history of crooked stuff that has been happening, and them refusing to stand up for the voters and properly investigating. And so now you have a very dangerous situation where someone is potentially going to be in office who is going to not care about any rules. I was just listening to a report today about how if the Supreme Court makes a decision that Trump doesn't agree with, he literally does not have to follow it because they have no enforcement arm. If the Department of Justice or the Marshal is all in Trump's corner, there's going to be nobody to enforce what the Supreme Court says. So if you can imagine the absolute perfect storm for the people who wanted to give Trump unfettered, unlimited power, what they are looking at now to see that he's actually about to take the reins and do whatever he wants to do and potentially have no one to stop him. There's got to be worrying people who had some concern about how they've allowed this man to just run amok. It's so perfect. It is so perfect. They got to be really thinking now, what have I done? And I'm sure you all have heard about the people who are, searching, how can I take back my vote? I don't even have, there's no words for even how out over the top insane that is. But I will just say this. As the truth comes out, which this is the week for the truth to come out, and the whole thing about, Skylink and Elon Musk's contributions by turning Twitter into a pro Trump propaganda machine and all of these deep fakes. And then we have Russia. We have Putin coming out to thank Donald Trump for, allowing him to help him win the election. And as a way of saying thank you, in a plot twist that you wouldn't believe, he is now posting nude photos of Melania on national television in Russia. Who would have thunk it? Who would have thunk it? That the person that they claim has nothing to do with Russia is being thanked by that person and disrespectfully having his wife's nude photos trotted out on national television. Not to mention the fact that Trump supposedly put out some type of press release saying he told Putin to de escalate the war, and Putin's people said that is complete fiction. We have no idea what he's talking about. And then they proceeded to bomb Ukraine like there was no tomorrow. So this is getting interesting. We need to really look at our news, other people's news. We need to really look at what's going on in other people's camps, because there are things that you will never see if you're only listening to your side. Some of these things you will never see. You will never see. And the real progressives, the real people who are paying attention at the highest level on the left, those people will be able to tell you, like, at the highest level, what is really operating here, because they are not afraid to tell the truth. And we have to be unafraid of telling the truth and standing on the truth. Without the ability for us to be able to stand on the truth being one of our options, we'll always be locked into this side and that side. When the truth is above all of that, the truth is going to be above it. So some side or one side might have the truth, but they also might have some type of slant, some type of nuance, some type of distortion, that when you are committed to the truth, you will be above that. You can rise above it. And so to see her campaign now float the balloons of, we're going to be contesting these, razor thin races, and we're going to be checking and seeing what's really happening. This is the door opening. This is you being given an opportunity to pick this story up and share it with other people, because this is a very important test. Are you ready for the truth? Are you ready for the truth? Are you ready for our voting machines, our voting system, our voting apparatus? Are you ready to see what you need to see about it? Because it is a very dishonest system that has been manipulated for at least 24 years. Ever since we had the debacle with Bush and Gore the first time, those machines are vulnerable, those machines are hackable, those machines can be tampered with, those machines can be programmed to flip people's votes. All of this is possible. With the new machines, with the ones that were in place at the 2020 election, part of the reason that it was such a big deal is those machines could have been prepared and firewalled, so that people were not able to do the things that they were able to do in the previous election. So you possibly had a real election result in 2020. That's why those ballots were so important, and people observing the counting of the ballots was so important, because they literally could not say that the vote was stolen with how those machines were designed and how those machines were protected. Another thing you want to be aware of is nobody ever accused Obama of cheating in an election. Have you ever noticed that? Out of all the things they've said about Obama, nobody ever accused Obama of cheating in an election. And they've accused the man of everything, everything you can imagine. But nobody ever said the people who went out to vote for him in overwhelming numbers were not real. They didn't exist. They never said that because Obama's ground game was so tight, they were incapable of seeing it. And so it's really strange that Obama didn't allow his people to go and work for Kamala Harris so that she could get the benefit of being able to know exactly what was going on in these areas. But it is coming out. It is coming out. So are you going to pick it up? American public, American voter, are you going to pay attention? Are you going to spread these videos? Are you going to spread the word that something is happening and we need to be paying more attention? We need to be paying more attention. We need to be making more of an effort to make sure our vote was counted. So that means you need to look up, you know, track my vote or whatever it might be in your state. It's a simple Google search. Look it up and see what is happening. There is a TikTok, there's a lot of TikTok videos being made about people not being able to find their votes. There is apparently a whole electronic trail that's been left with the irregularities and the blatant cheating that happened in this election. But we have to care. We have to care. We have to care enough to make sure it is exposed. That means we have to put the pressure on those in power through our attention to do something about it. And this is one of those things where, you know, as you see the Democratic Party reaping what they've sowed, because for years through all of these elections where things were stolen and they did not stand up and they did not admit it, this is why we're in a situation we're in right now. Someone should have stood up for Al Gore. The Democratic Party should have stood up for Al Gore. To learn that you don't have to obey the Supreme Court if you disagree. You can literally override it by just not listening to them. I literally just learned that today. Because the Supreme Court does not have a way to enforce what they put in place. So when they handed George Bush the election, the Democrats that were in power at that time could have overwritten it. It could have been something that was overridden because they didn't have the mettle, the strength, and the courage to do it. We have the terrible political situation we have now. But it's something that can be corrected because the time is now for it to be corrected. So I am thrilled. I am thrilled because this is our chance. This is our chance to show that we're capable of standing on the truth. This is our chance. This is our chance. And what is so amazing about the Democratic Party is they have created a situation where at some point they're going to have to admit how they did Bernie. They're going to have to admit that they undermined Bernie and it was potentially through the machines. they're going to have to admit that they did some shady things to people in their own party. The Democrats are known as a big tent party. So we have the gays, we have the LGBTQ, TXIFG, we have blacks, immigrants, refugees, we have the heads of software companies, the heads of the, Silicon Valley, you have the crypto people. All of these people are Democrats. And then you have, and they're welcomed by Democrats. And then you have people like Bernie Sanders, or you have people like Kennedy, who they basically spent millions of dollars to prevent from being on the ballot. And you have people like Cornel West or Marianne Williamson or Cori Bush or Jamal Bowman. Like, you have all of these incredible people who should be welcomed in a Democratic Party, but they're not. They've literally been shut out. They've literally been isolated. They've had their knees cut out from them. You have these incredible people that should be welcomed in the party of the Big Tent, but they're not. And so now the Democrats are in a situation where, are you going to stand on the truth? If you don't, what is this person who's been told by the Supreme Court that he has unlimited power as president? What is he going to do to y'all? How is he going to come for y'all now? You didn't put him in jail when he did crimes right in our face. You could not bring yourself to put this man in jail because it looked bad, because it looked some type of way. So now, how are you looking now? How are you going to look now when he's in power and he says, I want this person locked up. I want this person investigated. I want this person this, that, and the third. And do you think that Trump is going to be afraid to send you to jail? Members of the Democratic Party, you think he's going to be afraid? I think we all know the answer to that. So, this is a wonderful example of what happens when you don't clean up your own shit. Now you have to do something very drastic. Because if you've been lying or if you've been covering up for years, your lack of courage and your lack of follow through and your lack of integrity for the people that you should have been protecting, which is the American voter, if you have been ignoring that and poo-pooing that and not doing what you were supposed to do for years, now you're in a situation where you have to do something, or it is going to bite you in the ass. That's where we're at now. And it's a beautiful place to be. It's a beautiful place to be. And we, as the American voters, have got to wake up. Stop being so gullible. We've got to wake up. We've got to wake up. The things that they're doing nationally are mirrored in our local politics. It's mirrored locally by the dishonesty and the lack of integrity in the people that we elect locally, because we're going by the name or we're going by the reputation and not by what they're actually doing. And that is our responsibility to know and to follow through on it. And so I'm not preaching at you. I'm telling you, I have been there. I have been there. I have experienced this. So I'm speaking to myself and for myself as much as I'm speaking to anybody else. If you are an informed voter, don't be distracted by the national when what is being mirrored in the national is being reflected at the local level. The amount of dishonesty and corruption that goes on nationally is definitely going on locally. It's definitely going on locally. And we elect these people back in again and again. We elect them again and again. We don't have to. If we're really paying attention, we can hold them accountable, and then when they are going up for re-election, we can make sure somebody is running in their place who's going to not have to have their hand held to do the right thing, not have to have people looking every few minutes to make sure you're following through on your campaign promises. When we have people in place who are doing what they're supposed to do for the people who have put them in office, you won't have to look. They're gonna do what they're supposed to do. They're gonna be self-correcting. They're going to have the integrity. But if we don't look, if we just go by the popularity contest, we will get the same results we've been getting locally. That is the reality. That will not change. We have to change first. We have to say, I am accountable for my actions, and if I put someone in office, I am accountable for how they carry themselves in office. I'm going to hold myself personally responsible for how they conduct themselves because I said you can be in charge on my behalf. Once we put people in office and when we've watched them and we know, okay, they have integrity, they're not going to be off over here doing this when we said, we wanted somebody over here doing that. Once that's established, you will have the type of situation where people's entire quality of life can change. Their entire quality of life can change. But it starts with us understanding our responsibility. You don't just click a box and walk off. You can't do it. Because look where we are now. Look where we are now. People who thought nothing about how serious it was to pay attention to who they voted for are literally going online crying, talking about they didn't know this was going to happen. They didn't know what a tariff was. This man talked about tariffs like it was supposed to be for you. You didn't know that wasn't for you, but you voted for it. We cannot leave those kind of people in charge. We cannot leave those kind of people making decisions for us. We cannot. And so here we are. I am going to leave the videos and the links below. There's a really good one on TikTok where the guy has like broken down like so beautifully how all of these states put all these Democrats in place, and then all of a sudden they switched around and put Trump as president. Mm-mm. No, not today, Satan. No. So I hope you all have a chance to look at the videos that are left below. Please share this video with people who care about the future. Like that, I know I'm gonna be fine. I know that. I've been told that over and over again. I've been given that confirmation. I know my family is going to be fine. This is bigger than just me and my family. This is bigger than that. This is the future that we leave for our children and grandchildren. That cannot be something that we play around about. It's too important. So thank you all for listening. I am Christine Parr. You have a wonderful evening.